The night has already settled over the land, heavy and quiet, as if the world itself is holding its breath. Far beyond memory, before names and numbers, before roads or walls, the earth lies open beneath a wide sky of ancient stars. Cold winds move slowly across the plains, brushing tall grasses flat and whispering through bare trees. Somewhere in the distance, an animal calls once, then goes silent again, leaving behind a deeper stillness. Inside a shallow cave carved by time and weather, a small fire burns low, its orange glow trembling against stone walls darkened by smoke and years of use. Shadows stretch and soften, breathing with the flames. The air smells of ash, dry grass, and old stone. The fire crackles gently, not loud, not demanding attention, just enough to remind those nearby that warmth still lives here. Outside the cave, the Ice Age night presses close, bringing frost, patience, and long hours of darkness. Inside, there is safety. Inside, there is rhythm. The slow rise and fall of breath. The steady presence of fire. The quiet knowledge that this night, like so many before it, will be endured. If you are listening now, imagine yourself here, sitting close to the fire, wrapped in thick animal hide, the cold held at a respectful distance. This is a good moment to settle in. Let your shoulders soften. Let your breathing slow, in and out, easy and unforced. As the firelight dances, you might quietly tap the stone beside you just as gently. You could tap the like button on this story, or subscribe to the channel so you can return to this warmth again. And if you wish, leave a small mark of your presence by sharing where you are listening from, the US, Europe, or anywhere else in the world, and what time it is for you now. Think of it as leaving a soft footprint in the soil of the night, a sign that you, too, were here. The cave feels steady. The stone does not move. The fire does its ancient work. Outside, stars watch silently as they always have. Lower the light around you if you can. Let the modern world drift away like smoke slipping into darkness. With each breath, imagine the cold air of the Ice Age staying outside the cave, while warmth gathers around your hands and feet. You are safe here. You are not alone. Time is slow, and it is kind. And so, beneath this endless sky, beside this patient fire, the night continues, as it once did for those who learned how to sleep through the cold. Morning has long since faded, and the cave has returned to its true purpose, shelter from the night. A lone caveman lies curled on a bed of dry grass and softened hides, placed carefully near the fire, but not too close. His body is still, shaped by years of walking long distances, lifting stone, waiting in silence. Each breath fogs faintly in the cold air before fading away. The fire offers just enough warmth to take the edge from the Ice Age chill, its embers glowing like small, watchful eyes. Outside the cave mouth, frost gathers along the ground, turning soil hard and pale. Animal tracks made earlier in the day have begun to blur as the cold settles in, smoothing sharp edges into gentle lines. The world slows when the temperature drops. Movements become deliberate. Energy is saved, not wasted. Inside the cave, this wisdom is understood without words. The caveman shifts slightly, pulling the hide closer around his shoulders. The sound is soft, almost nothing, like grass brushing against stone. Above him, the cave ceiling curves protectively, dark and familiar. Smoke from the fire slips upward and finds its way out through cracks shaped by countless seasons. There is comfort in knowing these paths, in trusting the stone to guide the smoke away and keep the air clear enough to breathe deeply. The fire pops once, sending a brief shower of sparks upward before settling again. Shadows ripple along the walls, then calm. The caveman's eyes remain closed. His mind drifts, not toward worry or planning, but toward simple awareness, the warmth on his skin, the steady ground beneath him, the deep quiet that means no danger is near. Outside, the wind moves across the plain, but it does not enter here. It passes by, respectful, patient. As the night deepens, the fire slowly dims, its light turning softer, redder, more distant. Breathing remains slow and even. Sleep begins to settle fully, like snow covering the land, gentle and complete. The fire has burned down to a circle of glowing embers, no longer dancing, only breathing. Each ember pulses faintly, a slow heartbeat in the darkness. The caveman stirs once, sensing the change in warmth, then relaxes again. His body knows this rhythm well. Nights have always been long here, especially in the season of ice, and sleep must come in layers, light at first, then deeper, then deepest of all. Outside the cave, the land is still. Even the night animals move carefully now, their steps measured, their energy guarded. Somewhere far away, a heavy shape shifts in the darkness, but the sound never reaches the cave. The stone walls absorb and soften everything, turning the outside world into distant memory. The cave holds silence like a bowl holds water. The caveman's hand rests on the ground beside him, fingers lightly touching the cool earth. It is familiar, trusted. This same ground has supported him while sharpening stone, while sharing food, while waiting out storms that lasted days. Tonight, it offers rest. His breathing deepens, slow and steady, each breath sinking him further into the safety of the shelter. A faint draught slips through the cave entrance, carrying the clean scent of frost and dry grass. It brushes his face gently, like a reminder of the world beyond, then fades. The hides around him shift slightly as he exhales, rising and falling in time with his chest. There is no rush. Time stretches wide in the Ice Age night. One ember collapses inward, releasing a soft whisper of sound. The light dims a little more, shadows growing heavier, thicker, but never threatening. The caveman's thoughts drift away entirely now, leaving only warmth, darkness, and the slow passing of hours. Sleep settles fully, calm and unbroken, as the cave holds its quiet watch. The night continues its slow turning, unseen and uncounted. Somewhere above the cave, stars drift across the sky, tracing paths that have been followed for longer than memory can hold. Inside, the darkness deepens, thick but gentle, like a heavy blanket laid carefully over the world. The embers now glow faintly, their warmth steady but quiet, enough to keep the cold at bay without waking the sleeper. The caveman's breath has found its deepest rhythm, in and out, long pauses between, as if even the air itself has learned to move slowly here. His body sinks further into the bed of grass and hides, every muscle releasing its work. The ache from walking, from carrying stone and meat, from standing watch against the wind, fades into the background. Rest takes its place. At the cave entrance, frost has crept closer, painting the edges of stone in pale white patterns. The wind outside has softened, no longer pushing, only drifting across the land. A few dried grasses bend and straighten again, making no sound at all. The world seems to listen to itself, content to remain quiet. Inside the cave, a single ember brightens briefly, then settles. Its light reveals old markings on the stone wall, scratches made long ago, not for meaning, but from habit, from hands needing to move while waiting. They catch the glow for a moment, then disappear back into shadow. Nothing here asks for attention, everything simply exists. The caveman turns slightly in his sleep, guided by instinct rather than thought. The hide slips higher over his back, sealing in warmth. His face remains calm, jaw relaxed, brow smooth. There are no dreams yet, only the deep, steady dark of true rest, the kind that restores without effort. As the hours pass, the cave grows quieter still. Even the embers seem to hold their breath. The night settles fully, complete and unbroken, as sleep continues its gentle hold. The night continues its slow turning, unseen and uncounted. Somewhere above the cave, stars drift across the sky, tracing paths that have been followed for longer than memory can hold. Inside, the darkness deepens, thick but gentle, like a heavy blanket laid carefully over the world. The embers now glow faintly, their warmth steady but quiet, enough to keep the cold at bay without waking the sleeper. The caveman's breath has found its deepest rhythm, in and out. Long pauses between, as if even the air itself has learned to move slowly here. His body sinks further into the bed of grass and hides, every muscle releasing its work. The ache from walking, from carrying stone, and meat, from standing watch against the wind, fades into the background. Rest takes its place. At the cave entrance, frost has crept closer, painting the edges of stone in pale white patterns. The wind outside has softened, no longer pushing, only drifting across the land. A few dried grasses bend and straighten again, making no sound at all. The world seems to listen to itself, content to remain quiet. Inside the cave, a single ember brightens briefly, then settles. Its light reveals old markings on the stone wall, scratches made long ago, not for meaning, but from habit, from hands needing to move while waiting. They catch the glow for a moment, then disappear back into shadow. Nothing here asks for attention. Everything simply exists. The caveman turns slightly in his sleep, guided by instinct rather than thought. The hide slips higher over his back, sealing in warmth. His face remains calm, jaw relaxed, brow smooth. There are no dreams yet, only the deep, steady dark of true rest, the kind that restores without effort. As the hours pass, the cave grows quieter still. Even the embers seem to hold their breath. The night settles fully, complete and unbroken, as sleep continues its gentle hold. Time moves differently now, measured not by light or sound, but by the slow cooling of stone and the patient settling of the night. The cave feels deeper, more enclosed, as if the darkness has thickened into something soft and protective. The last embers glow like distant stars fallen to the earth, their warmth spreading gently across the ground before fading into the cold. The caveman remains still, wrapped in layers shaped by careful hands. The hides carry the faint scent of smoke and animal fur, familiar and reassuring. His breathing stays even, each breath sinking him further into the ground beneath him, as though the earth itself is holding him in place. There is no need to wake. Nothing calls for movement. This is the quiet hour meant only for rest. Outside, the frost has hardened. The land shines faintly under starlight, every surface stiff and silent. Footprints made earlier in the day have frozen in place, becoming part of the landscape, held until the sun returns. A thin layer of ice forms along the riverbank far away, the water beneath still moving, slow but steady, unseen in the dark. Inside the cave, the air grows cooler, but not sharply so. The stone walls release the warmth they stored during the fire's brighter hours, sharing it back into the space. This exchange, fire to stone, stone to air, air to skin, has happened countless times before. It is reliable. It is enough. The caveman's chest rises, falls, pauses. His mind remains empty of thought, drifting in a place deeper than dreams. The world waits with him, unhurried. As the final ember dims to a quiet glow, darkness settles completely, smooth and complete, carrying the night gently forward. The deepest part of the night arrives without announcement. There is no sound to mark it, no change in color or movement, only a sense of stillness settling fully into place. The cave rests in near total darkness now, the fire reduced to a faint warmth in the stone, its light no longer visible, only remembered by the skin. The caveman sleeps on, his body aligned with the slow rhythm of the land. His limbs are heavy and relaxed, shaped by gravity and rest. The grass beneath him has flattened, releasing a dry, earthy scent that mixes softly with old smoke. This smell has always meant safety. It means the night is being endured, as it has been so many times before. Outside, the sky remains wide and cold, stars burning silently above the frozen ground. An owl passes overhead without a sound, wings cutting cleanly through the air. Somewhere farther off, a large animal shifts its weight, then settles again, conserving warmth. No creature wishes to disturb the balance of the night. Inside the cave, the cold presses gently at the edges, but does not cross the invisible boundary created by stone and habit. The caveman's breath warms the small space around his face, each exhale returning softly to him. There is comfort in this small circle of warmth, in the knowledge that morning will come in its own time. The cave ceiling disappears entirely into shadow, making the space feel endless and closed at once. There is nothing to see, and nothing needs to be seen. Sleep remains deep, steady, unbroken, as the night holds its quiet watch and time continues its slow, careful passing. Somewhere far beyond the cave, the night begins its gradual turning toward morning, though no light yet hints at the change. The cold remains firm, settled deep into the land, but it has stopped growing stronger. Instead, it holds steady, as if waiting. Inside the cave, this pause is felt only as a subtle balance. No colder, no warmer, just still. The caveman shifts slightly in his sleep, a small adjustment guided by instinct. His fingers curl, then relax again against the earth. The ground is cool but not unkind, its firmness offering quiet support. Above him, the stone ceiling remains unchanged, watching over the long hours without sound or movement. A faint echo of the fire's presence lingers in the rocks. If one were to place a hand against the stone, a whisper of warmth could still be felt, shared slowly and generously. This stored heat is part of the cave's memory, built up over many nights, many careful fires. It is what allows sleep to remain deep, even as the Ice Age, cold, waits just beyond the entrance. Outside, the wind has nearly stopped. The plains lie smooth and pale, untouched by motion. Even the stars seem fixed in place, holding their positions until the world is ready to move again. The silence is complete, yet never empty. The caveman's breathing continues, slow and regular, each breath anchoring him to the present moment. There are no dreams yet, only rest, layered upon rest. The night holds him gently, and the cave remains a quiet cradle of stone and shadow as the hours drift onward. The first hint of change comes not as light, but as a subtle easing of the darkness. The night does not end suddenly here. It loosens its grip slowly, like frost melting from stone. Inside the cave, this shift is barely noticeable, felt only as a deepening calm, as if the world has exhaled. The caveman remains asleep, his body heavy with rest. The hides rise and fall with his breathing, soft and worn from years of use. Near his feet, a few smooth stones lie where they were set aside the night before. Tools shaped patiently by striking stone against stone. They wait in silence, their work paused until the day returns. Outside, the sky lightens almost imperceptibly, stars dimming one by one. The cold air carries a faint promise of movement to come, though it still holds tight to the land. The ground remains hard beneath its pale cover, every blade of grass locked in place. Inside the cave, a gentle draught moves through the entrance, carrying the clean, sharp scent of early morning frost. It brushes the caveman's face, and he stirs once, shifting his weight, then settles again. Sleep clings softly, unwilling to let go too soon. The cave remains quiet, patient. The stones do not hurry the sun, the earth does not rush the day. Time unfolds at its own pace, and rest continues to hold steady as the long night, slowly, carefully begins to fade. A thin, pale light finally reaches the edge of the cave, not bright enough to cast shadows, only enough to soften them. The stone walls absorb this early glow, turning it into a gentle grey that feels calm and familiar. Night has not fully gone. It lingers in the deeper corners, reluctant to leave. The caveman's eyes remain closed, but his breathing shifts slightly, becoming lighter, more aware. His body senses the coming day before his mind does. The long hours of rest have done their work, easing stiffness and restoring strength in quiet ways. There is no need to rise yet. Morning will wait. Outside, the plains stretch wide beneath the early sky. Frost glitters faintly on the ground, catching the weak light and holding it still. A bird calls once, short and distant, then falls silent again. The sound does not echo. It simply exists, then fades. Inside the cave, the air feels clearer now. The scent of smoke has thinned, replaced by cold stone and clean frost. The caveman shifts his arm, pulling the hide closer as the morning chill brushes against the cave's edge. His movement is slow, unhurried, guided by comfort rather than need. The stone tools near his feet catch a trace of light, their edges smooth and ready. They will be used again, but not yet. For now, the cave remains a place of rest, holding the last quiet moments of night as sleep loosens its grip and the day approaches without haste. The light outside grows steadier, settling into the sky like a quiet promise. It is still cold, but the sharpness has softened, replaced by a slow, patient chill that feels familiar rather than harsh. Inside the cave, the line between night and day blurs, shadows thinning but not yet gone. The caveman's eyes open briefly, unfocused, then close again. Waking comes gently here, never sudden. He listens without thinking, feeling the cave, the air, the distant world beyond stone. There is no urgency. Hunger will arrive in time. Movement will follow when the body is ready. A faint sound reaches the cave entrance, the soft crackle of frost breaking as the land begins to shift. Somewhere nearby, a small animal moves through the grass, careful and light. The noise is distant enough to remain calm, part of the morning rather than a threat. Inside, the caveman rolls slightly onto his side. The grass beneath him rustles softly, releasing another breath of dry, earthy scent. His hand brushes against a smooth stone, cool to the touch, grounding him fully in the present moment. He is awake now, but still wrapped in the quiet of rest. The cave holds this transition patiently. Light continues its slow entry inch by inch, as the final traces of night retreat deeper into shadow. Morning settles in without sound, and the day begins exactly as it should. Slow, steady, and calm. The caveman finally allows his eyes to remain open, letting the dim morning light rest on them without strain. The cave appears as it always does at this hour, softly shaped by shadow, familiar in every curve and crack. The stone walls no longer feel cold, only cool and steady, like an old companion that has shared many nights and mornings before this one. He sits up slowly, careful not to rush the body awake. The hides slip from his shoulders and settle beside him, their weight leaving behind a faint warmth. He pauses there, seated on the earth, breathing in the quiet. Each breath feels fuller now, reaching deeper into his chest, carrying the clean scent of frost and stone. Near the cave entrance, pale light spills across the ground, revealing scattered footprints from days past, his own and those of others who once shared this shelter. Some are sharp, others softened by time, all layered together. He studies them without thought, simply noticing as one notices the sky or the wind. Outside, the plains remain still, stretched wide beneath the early sky. No movement yet, only the promise of it. The cold lingers, but no longer presses inward. It waits. Inside the cave, warmth will return soon, when the fire is woken again. The caveman rests his hands on his knees, feeling the solid presence of bone and muscle beneath skin shaped by long seasons. There is no rush to stand. This quiet moment belongs to the space between sleep and work, where the world feels balanced and calm. The cave holds him a little longer, and the morning breathes gently around him. The caveman reaches for the fire without hurry, his movements slow and practiced. He gathers a few dry twigs and bits of bark kept close for this moment, their edges rough beneath his fingers. With care, he places them over the sleeping embers, coaxing warmth back into the center of the cave. A faint glow answers him, soft at first, then steady. He watches the fire awaken, not with urgency, but with quiet respect. Fire is never rushed, it is guided, encouraged, allowed to return in its own time. A thin thread of smoke rises and finds its familiar path along the stone ceiling, slipping away through cracks shaped by countless mornings like this one. As the flame grows, the cave brightens gently. Shadows shorten, revealing stone tools resting against the wall, hand axes, scrapers, and flakes of sharp-edged stone set aside from careful work. Each piece carries memory, hours of shaping, the rhythm of strikes, the patience required to make something useful from raw earth. Outside, the sky has settled into a pale grey blue. Frost still clings to the ground, but the promise of movement lingers in the air. The caveman warms his hands near the fire, feeling stiffness ease as heat returns to his fingers. He does not think of the day ahead in words or plans. He simply feels readiness growing. The fire crackles softly now, alive but calm. Light fills the cave without breaking its peace. Morning has fully arrived, and with it, the steady beginning of another day shaped by stone, fire, and patience. With the fire steady once more, the caveman rises to his feet, stretching slowly, feeling the pull and release of muscle and bone. The movement is unhurried, guided by habit rather than thought. He stands for a moment in the gentle warmth, letting it travel up his legs and into his back, easing the last traces of night from his body. He steps toward the cave entrance, careful where he places his feet. The ground near the mouth of the cave is cold and firm, the frost still holding tight. Outside, the plains lie open and quiet, washed in pale morning light. Breath leaves his mouth in a faint cloud, drifting away and disappearing. The air is sharp but clean, filling his lungs and waking his senses. He scans the ground without urgency, noticing tracks pressed into the soil. Old ones, familiar ones. Nothing new has come too close during the night. This knowledge settles him, steady and reassuring. The world beyond the cave feels calm, waiting, much like the fire behind him. Returning inside, he reaches for a simple stone tool and runs his thumb along its edge, testing its smoothness. It is ready, as it was left. He sets it back down, knowing there is time before it will be needed. For now, the cave and the morning are enough. The fire crackles softly at his back as he sits once more near its warmth. Outside, the light continues to grow, slow and gentle. Inside, the rhythm of the day begins quietly, anchored by stone, breath, and the steady presence of fire. The caveman settles into a familiar routine, one shaped by countless mornings before this one. He feeds the fire another small piece of wood, then watches as the flame accepts it without hurry. The warmth spreads slowly, filling the cave with a gentle comfort that pushes the cold back toward the entrance. He sits quietly, listening. The cave speaks in small ways, the soft crackle of fire, the faint drip of moisture somewhere deep within the stone, the low whisper of air moving in and out. These sounds are steady and known, forming a quiet language that requires no response. Outside, the land begins to wake. A distant call carries across the plains, low and brief, answered by nothing. The sound fades, leaving the morning still. The caveman remains unmoved by it, only noting its presence, as one notes the passing of a cloud. He reaches for a piece of dried meat set aside from the day before, and takes a slow bite. The taste is familiar, grounding. Eating is not rushed. Each movement is measured, conserving energy, respecting the food that carried warmth through the night. He chews slowly, eyes resting on the cave wall as light shifts across its surface. When he finishes, he brushes his hands together and leans back slightly, letting the fire's warmth settle in his chest. The morning stretches ahead, wide and patient. For now, there is no need to move beyond the cave. This moment of stillness belongs fully to him and the quiet world he inhabits. After eating, the caveman remains seated, hands resting loosely on his knees. The firelight flickers across his skin, warming it gradually, bringing ease back into places that carried the cold through the night. He closes his eyes for a moment, not to sleep, but to listen more deeply, to feel the cave breathe around him. The stone walls hold the warmth now, reflecting it gently back into the space. The cave has learned this balance over many winters. It knows how to keep the cold at the edges and the warmth near the heart. The caveman trusts this knowledge without thinking, the way one trusts the ground beneath their feet. Outside, the light strengthens, but the air remains crisp. The frost has begun to loosen its hold, softening just enough to leave faint marks when something passes. Somewhere beyond sight, water shifts beneath a thin layer of ice, moving patiently, always moving. He opens his eyes again and reaches for a bone tool near his side, turning it slowly in his hands. Its surface is smooth from use, shaped by time and repetition. He does not use it yet. He simply feels its weight, grounding himself in the present moment, in the certainty of familiar objects and familiar tasks. The fire settles into a steady burn, no longer crackling, only glowing. The cave feels calm, complete. Time stretches comfortably ahead, unbroken and unhurried, as the morning continues to unfold. The caveman rises again, this time with purpose that remains gentle and unforced. He moves toward the cave wall where tools and simple belongings rest, each placed carefully where it can be found without thought. He selects a stone blade and a small bundle of sinew, his fingers working slowly, checking for wear, feeling for weakness. The light from the fire and the cave entrance meet in the center of the space, creating a soft blend of warm and cool. Shadows no longer dominate, they rest quietly along the edges. The cave feels awake now, but still calm, like a body stretching after sleep. He kneels near the wall and begins to tend to his tools, tightening a binding here, smoothing an edge there. The movements are repetitive and steady, bringing comfort through rhythm. There is no rush to finish. Each adjustment is made carefully, with patience, shaped by long experience. Outside, the sky has brightened further, revealing the pale tones of winter grass and bare earth. The cold remains, but it has softened into something manageable. The world feels stable, predictable in its slow changes. When the caveman finishes, he sets the tools back in their places and sits once more near the fire. He exhales deeply, feeling readiness settle in his body. The morning is still young, and the day will unfold as it always does, step by step, without haste, guided by the quiet endurance of life in the Ice Age. The caveman sits quietly, letting the last moments of preparation settle into stillness. The tools are ready, the fire steady, the morning calm. He listens again to the space around him, allowing the cave and the land beyond to speak in their subtle ways. There is no single sound that stands out, only a layered quiet, rich and complete. After a time, he rises and steps toward the cave entrance once more. This time, he pauses at the threshold, half in shadow, half in pale light. The cold air touches his skin, crisp and alert, sharpening his senses without discomfort. He breathes it in slowly, feeling it fill his chest, then release. He scans the ground again, noticing how the frost has softened just enough to reveal clearer shapes, tracks made long ago, pressed deeper now as the surface relaxes. They tell no urgent story, only reminders of movement and passage. Everything feels balanced, safe. He does not step out yet. Instead, he stands still, letting the moment stretch. The cave behind him offers warmth and familiarity. The world ahead offers space and quiet possibility. Both are patient. Both will wait. After a long pause, he turns back inside, choosing to linger a little longer in the shelter. The fire greets him with steady warmth as he sits down once more. The morning continues to unfold gently, unhurried, as the quiet rhythm of the day settles into place. The morning grows brighter, though the sun itself remains hidden behind a thin veil of pale cloud. Light spreads evenly across the land, softening contrasts and easing the sharp edges of winter. Inside the cave, this change is felt as a gentle clarity, as if the space has taken a deeper breath. The caveman rests near the fire, hands folded loosely, eyes half closed. He is awake, but still conserving energy, letting the warmth soak into him fully before the day asks anything more. The fire has found its balance, neither too strong nor too weak, its presence steady and reassuring. Outside, a faint breeze moves across the plains, just enough to stir dry grasses and carry distant scents. The smell of cold earth, old snow, and faraway water drifts briefly into the cave before fading again. The caveman notices without reacting, simply adding it to his understanding of the morning. He reaches down and picks up a small stone, rolling it slowly between his fingers. Its surface is smooth, shaped by time and water, long before it was ever held by a hand. He sets it back down where it was found, returning it to stillness. The cave remains calm, holding this quiet pause between rest and movement. Time stretches gently, unbroken. The fire glows, the light steadies, and the day continues to open without pressure, inviting patience above all else. The caveman rises at last, not because of hunger or need, but because the moment feels right. He moves with a calm certainty, as though the land itself has quietly nodded. Gathering his stone blade and a simple spear, he checks their balance with a practiced hand, feeling their weight settle comfortably into his grip. He steps out of the cave, letting the cold morning air wrap around him fully now. It is sharp but honest, clearing the last traces of sleep from his body. Beneath his feet, the ground has softened just enough to receive his steps without sound. Frost cracks faintly, then stills again. He walks a short distance from the cave and stops, standing quietly on the open plain. The world stretches wide before him, low hills dusted with pale frost, scattered trees standing bare and patient, and a distant line of darker land where forest begins. Nothing moves quickly here. Everything waits. The caveman lowers himself to one knee and studies the ground, tracing the edges of old tracks with his eyes. They speak of yesterday, not today. No urgency rises within him. There will be time later to walk farther, to search, to follow. For now, observation is enough. After a while, he stands again and turns back toward the cave. The fire's warmth is still there, steady and welcoming. As he steps inside, the light softens, the air warms and the quiet returns, holding him gently as the morning continues to unfold. Back inside the caveman sets his spear and blade down in their familiar place, leaning them carefully against the stone where they will not fall. He sits again near the fire, feeling the contrast as warmth returns to his hands and face. The cave seems to close gently around him, not trapping but protecting, stone and shadow forming a quiet boundary against the wide cold outside. He adds a small piece of wood to the fire, watching the flame accept it without flare or fuss. The sound is soft, almost like a breath being answered. Light shifts along the wall, revealing subtle textures in the stone, ripples, small cracks, places where water once moved slowly. He looks at these markings without thought, letting his eyes rest where they choose. Outside, the breeze fades again, leaving the plains still. The pale sky holds steady, neither bright nor dark, suspended in a calm balance. Inside, the air feels settled, warm enough to ease the fingers, cool enough to keep the mind clear. The caveman's breathing slows to match the fire's quiet rhythm. He leans back slightly, supported by the curve of the cave wall, and closes his eyes for a moment. Not to sleep, but to rest in awareness. This pause is part of survival too, the space between action and action, where strength gathers quietly. The fire continues its low, steady glow. The cave remains calm. Time stretches without demand, and the morning rests in a peaceful, unhurried stillness. The pause lingers, gentle and complete, like a held breath that does not need to be released yet. The caveman opens his eyes again and shifts his weight, feeling the solid reassurance of stone against his back. The cave is fully awake now, though it remains quiet, its purpose unchanged, to shelter, to warm, to hold. He reaches toward a small pile of bones near the wall, remnants from meals long past. Selecting one smooth piece, he begins to scrape it lightly with a stone flake. The sound is soft and rhythmic, barely more than a whisper. This is not urgent work, only maintenance, shaping, passing time with intention. Small curls of bone dust fall to the ground, pale against the darker earth. Outside, light continues to spread across the plains, revealing subtle movement far away, a distant shape shifting near the horizon, too far to matter now. The caveman does not look up. His focus remains close, grounded in the simple task beneath his hands. Each scrape is slow, deliberate, calming. When he finishes, he sets the bone aside and brushes his hands together. The fire responds with a quiet crackle, as if acknowledging the moment. He leans forward slightly, warming his palms once more, letting the heat sink in. The cave feels balanced, light and shadow, warmth and cool, movement and stillness. The day waits patiently beyond the entrance. For now, this calm center holds, steady and unbroken, as time drifts gently onward. The caveman remains by the fire, letting the warmth seep deeper into his hands and wrists. He turns his palms slowly, feeling the heat on one side, then the other, easing the stiffness left by the night. The fire answers with a low, steady glow, its work quiet and dependable. After a time, he stands and moves toward the back of the cave, where the air is cooler and darker. There, he adjusts a pile of dry grass and hides, spreading them out carefully. These small acts matter. Order keeps the space calm. Everything has its place, and returning things to that place brings a sense of balance. He pauses and listens again. The cave remains silent, except for the faint crackle of fire and the distant, barely there sound of wind brushing the land outside. No voices, no sudden movements. The world feels open, patient, and safe enough. Returning to the fire, he lowers himself to sit once more. Light flickers across his face, then settles. His eyes follow the flame without effort, watching it shift and settle, finding comfort in its predictability. Fire is never still, yet it never truly changes. The morning continues to pass, slow and even. The cold remains beyond the stone walls, held at a distance. Inside, warmth, quiet, and steady breath define the moment. The cave holds this calm space gently, as time drifts on without demand. The caveman leans forward and feeds the fire once more, this time with a thicker piece of wood. The flame accepts it slowly, climbing just enough to brighten the cave without breaking its calm. Shadows stretch, then settle again, familiar and reassuring. He sits back and watches the fire for a long moment, his thoughts moving nowhere in particular. The sound of burning wood fills the space softly, blending with the deep quiet of stone. This sound has always meant safety, warmth, and time enough to rest. Outside, the sky has grown brighter still, though the air remains cool and sharp. Frost loosens its hold on the ground, leaving the soil slightly darker where it begins to thaw. The caveman notices the change when he glances toward the entrance, but he does not move toward it yet. There is no need to rush into the open. He reaches for his spear again and checks its tip, running his thumb carefully along the stone edge. Satisfied, he sets it down. This simple check is as much about reassurance as readiness. Knowing the tool is ready allows the mind to remain calm. The fire settles into a steady burn once more. The cave feels warm and balanced, holding the quiet center of the day. Time continues its slow passage, unmarked and unhurried, as the moment lingers gently. The caveman's attention drifts back to the cave entrance, where the light has grown steady and calm. He stands and steps closer, stopping just short of the threshold. From here, he can feel both worlds at once, the warmth behind him, the cool openness ahead. He remains still, letting the balance settle in his body. Outside, the land lies quiet under the pale sky. The frost has softened enough to release a faint, earthy scent, carried gently by the air. He breathes it in slowly, then lets it go. No animals pass nearby, no shadows move quickly. The world feels untroubled, content to remain as it is for now. He lowers himself to sit near the entrance, back against the stone, half in light, half in shadow. The ground beneath him is firm and cool, grounding. He traces a small line in the soil with his finger, then smooths it away again. The motion is absent of purpose, soothing in its simplicity. Behind him, the fire continues its low, steady glow. Ahead, the open land waits without expectation. Between the two, the caveman rests, breathing slowly, letting time move past him like a quiet river. The moment stretches, peaceful and complete, as the day holds its gentle calm. The caveman remains seated near the entrance, feeling the slow shift of air as the day settles more fully into place. The breeze carries faint sounds now, distant, softened by space. Perhaps the crack of ice giving way along a far riverbank, or the low movement of animals too far to be seen. None of it calls for action yet. He adjusts his position slightly, leaning more comfortably against the stone. The rock is cool through the hide, steady and unmoving. He rests his hands on his thighs and closes his eyes again, letting the light and warmth exist without needing his attention. This pause is not wasted time, it is how strength is preserved. The fire behind him offers a constant presence, its warmth reaching him even here. Light from the entrance and glow from the flames meet softly around his shoulders. The cave feels neither dark nor bright, only balanced. Outside, the frost continues its quiet retreat. The ground darkens in patches, revealing soil beneath the pale surface. The air still carries cold, but it no longer presses inward. The world feels open, patient, waiting for the next slow step. The caveman breathes steadily, anchored in this in-between space. The moment holds, calm and unbroken, as time drifts forward without urgency, guided by the steady rhythm of breath and fire. After a long while, the caveman opens his eyes and shifts forward, resting his forearms on his knees. He looks out across the plains with quiet attention, not searching, only observing. The land reveals itself slowly, subtle changes in light, faint lines where frost has melted unevenly, the soft rise and fall of distant ground. A bird passes low overhead, wings cutting silently through the air. It disappears beyond a stand of bare trees without leaving a trace of sound behind. The caveman watches its path until it is gone, then lets his gaze settle again on the open land. He stands slowly and stretches once more, arms lifting and lowering without strain. The movement feels natural, easing the body awake for the day ahead. The cold air brushes against his skin, cool but not biting. It sharpens his awareness gently. Stepping back into the cave, he reaches for his tools again, not to leave yet, but to feel their presence. Stone and wood, bone and sinew, simple things that connect him to the work of survival. He sets them down once more and returns to his place near the fire. The cave accepts him easily, warmth and shadow settling around him. Outside, the day continues its quiet opening. Inside, the steady calm remains, holding this gentle moment as time flows onward. The caveman lowers himself to sit again, this time a little farther from the fire, where the warmth is softer and the air cooler. He lets his spine rest against the stone wall, feeling its firmness support him. The cave has a way of holding the body in just the right posture, easing tension without asking for effort. He reaches down and gathers a few small stones from the ground, arranging them slowly into a simple line, then a curve. There is no meaning to the shapes, only the quiet comfort of touch and movement. When he is done, he scatters them again with a gentle sweep of his hand, returning them to the earth. Outside, the light has settled into a steady presence. Shadows shorten, then rest. The plains appear wide and calm, their colors muted by the cold season. Nothing draws near, nothing pulls away, the land simply remains. Inside, the fire has grown quieter, its flame lower, its warmth still reliable. The caveman watches it briefly, then lets his gaze soften. His breathing slows, deep and even, matching the steady pace of the morning. There is no need to think ahead yet. This space between action and rest is enough. The cave holds its gentle silence as time continues to drift. Warmth and cool balance each other, light and shadow remain at ease, and the moment settles into a calm stillness that feels complete. The caveman's eyelids grow heavy again, not with sleep, but with a deeper calm that settles into the body when nothing needs to be done. He allows himself to lean back, shoulders touching the stone, head angled slightly toward the warmth. The cave feels steady, unchanged, as if it has always been this way and always will be. The fire breathes softly, its sound a low murmur that blends with the quiet. Light moves across the wall in slow waves, then stills. The air carries the faint scent of warmed stone and old smoke, familiar and grounding. Each breath comes easily now, full and unforced. Outside, the day holds its place. The cold remains, but it has softened into something manageable, something known. A distant sound drifts across the plains, perhaps wind brushing the grass, perhaps nothing at all. It fades before it can settle into shape. Inside, the caveman remains still, hands resting loosely at his sides. The tools lie where they were placed, patient and ready. The hides and grass near the back of the cave remain undisturbed, holding the memory of the night just past. Time moves gently here, without edges. The moment stretches, calm and secure, as the fire dims slightly and the cave settles once more into quiet balance. The calm deepens, settling like a second layer of warmth around the caveman's body. He shifts his weight just once, finding a place where the stone supports him fully, then becomes still again. The cave seems to recognize this stillness and responds in kind, holding the quiet without interruption. The fire has lowered to a gentle glow, no longer reaching upward, only spreading warmth close to the ground. Its light softens the edges of everything it touches, turning stone and tool and earth into shapes that feel less solid, more dreamlike. The air remains clear, easy to breathe, moving slowly in and out of the cave with the faintest rhythm. Outside, clouds drift across the pale sky, dimming the light for a moment, then letting it return. The change is subtle, barely noticed from within the cave, yet it marks the passage of time in a way that feels natural and unimportant. The land continues its quiet patience. The caveman's breathing grows slower again, deeper, as if his body remembers the night and welcomes a brief return to rest. His thoughts remain simple and distant, untethered to plans or worries. There is only warmth, steady stone, and the quiet presence of fire. As the glow fades slightly and shadows thicken just enough to feel comforting, the moment settles into a peaceful pause, unhurried and safe, carrying him gently toward stillness once more. A gentle drowsiness returns, not pulling the caveman fully into sleep, but softening the edges of awareness. His head tilts slightly, supported by the curve of the stone, and his breathing settles into a slow, even pattern once more. The cave holds this quiet without question, as it has so many times before. The fire gives a soft sigh as a small piece of wood shifts, then becomes still again. Warmth lingers close to the ground, rising just enough to keep the chill from touching skin. The stone walls absorb the heat patiently, storing it for later, sharing it back without effort. Outside, the plains remain calm beneath the pale sky. The world seems to pause here, suspended between movement and rest. No footsteps cross the ground nearby. No calls break the air. Even the wind has chosen to wait. Inside, the caveman's hands rest open and relaxed. His body feels heavy in the best way, anchored and safe. The faint light from the cave entrance dims as clouds pass again, turning the space slightly darker, slightly quieter. Time drifts onward, unnoticed and uncounted. The fire glows low, the stone remains steady, and the quiet deepens into something smooth and comforting, allowing rest to settle gently once more. The cave rests in a gentle half-light now, neither fully bright nor dark, a space where time feels softened. The caveman remains still, wrapped in warmth and quiet, his breathing slow and deep. Each breath seems to echo faintly against the stone, then disappear, as if the cave itself is breathing with him. The fire has become a calm presence rather than a focus. Its glow is low and steady, spreading warmth close to the ground, keeping the cold beyond the entrance at a respectful distance. The air carries a peaceful balance, cool enough to feel fresh, warm enough to feel safe. Outside, the day continues without announcement. Light shifts subtly across the land, revealing and hiding small details in turn. A distant shape moves far across the plain, too distant to matter, part of the wider rhythm of life that does not demand attention right now. Inside, the caveman's thoughts drift further away, dissolving into sensation alone, the weight of his body against stone, the gentle warmth on his skin, the steady quiet that surrounds him. There is no urgency, no signal to rise. Rest is allowed here, even during the day, when the world feels calm enough to hold it. As the fire dims just a little more, and the cave settles into deeper stillness, the moment lingers, soft and complete, carrying him gently forward on the slow current of time. The quiet stretches on, smooth and unbroken, like a wide plain covered in fresh snow. The caveman's chest rises and falls with a steady rhythm, each breath calm and effortless. He does not sleep deeply now, nor is he fully awake. He rests in the gentle space between, where the body recovers and the mind drifts without direction. The fire gives off a faint warmth, barely visible, more felt than seen. Its presence is enough. The stone beneath and behind him holds that warmth carefully, releasing it slowly, sharing it without asking. The cave feels alive in a quiet way, aware of the stillness it protects. Outside, clouds move lazily across the sky, softening the light that reaches the land. The plains appear muted and peaceful, their wide openness untouched by hurry. Somewhere far away, ice shifts along water, a sound too distant to disturb the calm. Inside, the caveman's fingers twitch once, then relax again. His shoulders sink a little deeper against the stone, finding perfect balance. The tools nearby remain untouched, resting as patiently as he does. Nothing calls him forward yet. This pause is part of survival too. As the fire settles into an even softer glow and the air remains cool and steady, the cave holds this moment gently, letting rest linger a little longer in the quiet flow of the day. The stillness deepens again, as if the cave has drawn a curtain across the day. The caveman's breathing becomes slower, longer, each breath smoothing the edges of thought until there is nothing left to hold. The weight of his body settles more fully into the stone, supported and unmoving, as though he has become part of the cave itself. The fire is now little more than a warm memory, a soft presence held in the rocks and the air. Its glow barely touches the ground, but its warmth remains quiet and dependable. The scent of ash and stone blends gently, creating an atmosphere that feels ancient and familiar, unchanged by time. Outside, the land rests beneath the pale sky. Light shifts slowly, clouds passing without urgency. The cold stays gentle, no longer pressing inward, only existing as part of the world's balance. Nothing approaches the cave, nothing leaves it. The moment is complete as it is. Inside, the caveman's hands lie open, fingers relaxed, palms facing the warmth. His face is calm, features softened by rest. There are no dreams yet, only a deep, steady peace that wraps around him like another layer of hide. As the cave grows quieter still, and the warmth settles evenly through stone and air, the world seems to pause, holding this calm breath, before time moves on again. A long, gentle stretch of time passes without notice. The caveman remains where he is, resting in the cave's quiet center. His breathing is so slow now it seems to blend with the stillness itself, rising and falling like a distant tide. The warmth stored in the stone continues to cradle him, steady and unchanging. The cave feels deeper, more enclosed, not from darkness, but from calm. Sounds from outside no longer reach in clearly. The world beyond stone has softened into something distant and unimportant. Here there is only the faint warmth near the ground, the cool air above, and the solid reassurance of earth on every side. The fire, nearly spent, releases a final gentle warmth, its work now carried on by the cave itself. Shadows rest without movement. Light from the entrance dims slightly as clouds pass again, turning the space inward, quieter, more private. The caveman's head lowers just a little more, chin resting comfortably, muscles fully at ease. His body knows this place. It trusts it. Nothing needs to be watched. Nothing needs to be done. Rest is complete and unguarded. As the last glow fades into a soft, even darkness, and the cave settles into full stillness once more, the moment closes gently, like eyes drifting shut. The cave now holds a deeper hush, the kind that arrives when even the smallest movements have found their place and stopped. The caveman remains settled against the stone, his body heavy and warm, his breath slow and untroubled. Each inhale feels cool and clean. Each exhale carries a faint trace of warmth back into the air, a quiet exchange that continues without thought. The ground beneath him has cooled, but not uncomfortably. It feels firm and dependable, a constant presence that asks nothing and gives support freely. The hides nearby lie undisturbed, their edges curled softly, holding the memory of night and the promise of warmth, if needed again. Outside, the land continues its patient waiting. Light shifts gently behind cloud and sky, but inside the cave the change is barely felt. The entrance glows faintly, a muted window to the wider world, while the interior remains calm and even, wrapped in shadow that feels protective rather than dark. The caveman's shoulders sink a little further as another layer of tension fades. His jaw loosens, his hands rest open, palms turned slightly upward, as if receiving the quiet itself. There are no sounds demanding attention, only the soft presence of air, stone, and time moving slowly forward. As the cave settles into this deeper stillness and the warmth evens out across the floor, rest continues to hold him gently, like a long, steady night that never needs to end. The quiet becomes so complete it feels almost tangible, like a soft layer resting over everything in the cave. The caveman does not move. His body has found a perfect stillness, balance between warmth and cool, between awareness and sleep. The slow rhythm of his breathing remains the only sign of life, steady and calm. The stone around him holds the day's warmth gently, releasing it little by little. There is no fire now, only its memory, heat stored in rock, lingering in the air, enough to keep the cold from reaching too close. Shadows have settled into their final shapes, no longer shifting, simply resting where they belong. Outside, the world continues in silence. The plains lie open and pale beneath the sky, unchanged by the passing hours. Any movement that occurs is far away, softened by distance, unable to disturb the peace held inside the cave. The caveman's thoughts have fully loosened their grip. There are no images, no plans, no memories pressing forward. Only sensation remains. The firm support of stone, the faint warmth along his back, the quiet assurance that this place is safe. His body responds by sinking just a little deeper into rest. As time drifts on without being counted, the cave remains a calm shelter against the Ice Age cold, holding this still moment gently as rest deepens and the world waits. A deeper calm settles, as if the cave itself has grown heavier and more grounded in the earth. The caveman's breathing slows even further, long pauses resting between each breath. His chest rises gently, then falls, the movement so subtle it nearly disappears into the stillness. The quiet feels complete, unbroken by thought or sound. The stone behind him has fully shared its warmth now, holding him at a steady, comfortable balance. Cool air rests lightly around his face, fresh and clean, while the warmth along his back remains constant. This contrast feels natural, familiar, like the balance of day and night on the open land. Outside, the sky continues its slow passage, clouds drifting without shape or urgency. Light dims slightly, then steadies again, but inside the cave, the change barely reaches. The entrance glows faintly, a distant reminder of the wider world, while the interior remains wrapped in calm shadow. The caveman's hands rest open and still. Fingers relaxed, palms soft, as if even the smallest effort has been released. His body feels heavy in a comforting way, anchored and secure. There is nothing to listen for, nothing to prepare. This moment belongs only to rest. As the cave settles fully into this quiet balance and the air remains cool and steady, stillness deepens gently, carrying him further into peaceful ease. The cave seems to sink deeper into the earth, as if it has chosen this moment to rest as well. The caveman remains where he is, supported by stone that has held countless winters and countless nights. His breathing is slow and steady, each breath a quiet agreement between body and world. In and out. Nothing more is required. The air inside the cave feels settled now, no longer moving, no longer changing. Coolness rests gently near the entrance, while a mild warmth lingers close to the ground and stone. The balance is perfect, neither side pressing, neither side fading. This is the kind of calm that lasts. Outside, the Ice Age land continues its patient silence. Light shifts somewhere beyond the cave, but it arrives muted and softened, unable to disturb the stillness within. Even the distant sounds of the world seem to pause, as if listening, then deciding not to speak. The caveman's head tilts slightly, finding a final position of comfort. His shoulders relax completely, releasing the last trace of effort they carried. Muscles soften, weight settles. The cave accepts him fully, holding his shape gently without resistance. Time passes unnoticed. There is no sense of before or after, only this steady quiet now. The darkness feels safe, the silence kind, as rest deepens and the cave remains watchful and calm. The stillness holds deep and unbroken, like a lake frozen smooth beneath a pale sky. The caveman rests without shifting, his body fully surrendered to the quiet. Breathing moves slowly through him, each breath warm as it leaves, cool as it returns, a gentle exchange that keeps time without counting it. The cave feels ancient and steady, its walls carrying the memory of many fires, many nights, many moments, just like this. Stone does not hurry. Stone does not forget. It simply remains, offering shelter and patience in equal measure. The ground beneath him feels firm and kind, supporting without pressure. Outside, the cold endures, but it no longer feels close. It exists as part of the world, not as a threat. The plains remain wide and calm, their silence stretching far beyond sight. Any movement that happens there is slow, deliberate, and far away, softened by distance and time. Inside, the air feels smooth, untouched. The faint scent of ash and earth lingers, comforting and familiar. The caveman's face is calm, features softened by rest, as if shaped by the same gentle forces that shape the land. No thoughts rise, no dreams yet form. There is only ease. As the cave holds this quiet moment and the warmth settles evenly through stone and body, rest deepens once more, unhurried and safe, like night, returning without darkness. Time drifts on, invisible and gentle, like falling snow that leaves no sound behind. The caveman remains in perfect stillness, his body fully at rest, supported by stone and earth. Breathing continues in a slow, steady rhythm, each breath softening the space around him, then fading back into silence. The cave feels complete now, balanced in temperature and quiet. Cool air rests lightly near the entrance, while the stone behind him holds a calm, steady warmth. Nothing shifts. Nothing demands attention. Even the faint memory of fire has settled into the rock, shared evenly and without effort. Outside, the world continues its slow turning, unseen and unheard from within. The Ice Age cold remains across the plains, but it feels distant, no longer pressing inward. The land and sky move at their own pace, patient and unconcerned. Inside, the caveman's body feels heavy and secure, as if rooted to the earth itself. His hands remain open, fingers loose, no tension left to release. This is rest without edges, sleep without urgency, peace shaped by stone and time. As the cave holds this final quiet pause, and the world remains calm beyond its walls, stillness deepens gently, preparing the way for the last soft moment of the journey. The quiet reaches its fullest depth, the kind of stillness that feels complete rather than empty. The caveman lies settled against the stone, his body fully surrendered to rest. Breathing is slow and barely perceptible now, a gentle rise and fall that seems to belong as much to the cave as to him. Warmth and cool have found perfect balance, holding him in a steady embrace. The cave itself feels timeless. Its walls, shaped by water and cold and countless seasons, stand unmoving and patient. They have watched over many nights like this, nights of endurance, of simple survival, of deep, restoring rest beneath an ancient sky. Tonight is no different, and that sameness brings comfort. Outside, the Ice Age cold stretches across the plains under distant stars, quiet and vast. Frost lies undisturbed. Winds have gone still. The world beyond the cave feels far away, softened by distance and darkness. Nothing approaches. Nothing needs to. Inside, the air remains calm and clear. The faint scent of earth and old ash lingers gently, familiar and reassuring. The caveman's face is peaceful, muscles fully relaxed, mind empty of thought. Sleep has arrived completely now, not fragile, not shallow, but deep and steady like the land itself. As the last trace of warmth settles evenly through stone and body, and the cave holds this moment in perfect silence, rest becomes complete, unbroken and safe, carrying the night gently onward.